shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, in the whole night, this isn't a man.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black face.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
Hey, good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, November 20th, 2022. Happy Thanksgiving, folks, because on the flip side, the next show we do, it'll be post-Thanksgiving. So Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hey, Chris, what's going on, brother?
I am glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to Turkey Day, but I don't know if we're going to have a turkey or not. I looked at them, and the price has really increased lately, so we may just have a Thanksgiving chicken.
Everybody gets their own Thanksgiving pigeon.
Yeah, Thanksgiving pigeon or Thanksgiving blackbird or whatever, depending on what's available.
Critter of the day.
Yeah, it's really it's been cold here lately, and that kind of sucks because it's here. You know, I knew it was coming, but don't have to like it. You know, I really don't like cold weather. But,
yeah, well, folks, tonight I was hoping to premiere a call-in line and everything. We tested it out. Me and the wife tested it out earlier on a test program. It worked beautifully, and I don't know, all of a sudden, when it came to showtime, everything tanked.
Right before the show, it said, no, denied.
I'm not sure what the issue is, but everything went kablooey on it. The browser didn't want. I was on Google Chrome, and it says, you know, your browser has blocked, you know, the microphone access. But I looked at the settings and they were fine. And then I tried Edge and it did the same thing. So I downloaded Firefox and got it into it. But by that time, you know, it still wasn't working. It's still I still couldn't connect, even though I had the call-in line in the chat. You saw it, Chris. It was there.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it wasn't piping the sounds through anymore.
Well, you know, I think maybe with any new feature, there's going to be some bugs, and we'll get them worked out. Steve will get them worked out. I'm not capable of working out technical issues like that on this end.
Yep.
But
Unfortunately, what I may have to do is I may have to run everything on this computer.
Well, the idea is sound, and I think it's going to be really fun when we finally get a call-in line working.
Yep.
And I'm sure it's just a small issue. It's got to be a
That's
little
the only
buggy.
advantage Blog Talk had over StreamYard was the whole ability to take in the calls.
Yeah, but you know, when you talk about technical difficulties, we had a whole lot more technical issues on Blog Talk. So you know,
that was a weekly experience.
Yeah, weekly.
The audio was crappy, or the or people
something would happen during the middle of the show.
Yep.
You gotta laugh, man. You gotta laugh. You can't.
Nah, I don't gotta laugh. That was my project the whole day. I was so excited. I was like, yes, we can get people to call in, and it'd be kind of fun because now we can start taking calls again. And,
yeah. Well, it'll come. It'll come. But
very disappointing day. Disappointed.
We want to thank everybody for being patient with us
and for hanging in there. Yep, thank you. So we're gonna have an abbreviated version, I think, tonight because of the technical difficulties. Obviously, we're not gonna go to 11:30, and we'll probably go to 10:30 tonight. But and you know what? The interesting thing is I wonder how the weather is affecting our hairy friends, because talking to hunters, I know. Their deer season was screwed up by the heat wave.
Yeah.
And now we've gone. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in the western part of New York. You hear what they're getting? Buffalo, I think, got like 4 feet of snow.
Oh, wow.
And there's still snow. It's still snowing because this Canadian system pushed almost directly down north into the entire state of New York, which is the reason why it's going down to 17 degrees tonight.
Yeah.
But the problem is they sit all above Lake Erie, and they get all the lake effect snow, and it comes down, and it just keeps snowing and snowing and snowing. So,
yeah. Well, when the snow gets on the ground too, it's always kind of exciting, you know.
Yep.
I had always thought that if you got a research area that's got a lot of activity in it, you know, when the snow gets on the ground, oh my God, now it's so easy. You just walk out there and do like a grid search. And you're going to run across some tracks in the snow. Well, John Gray and I walked for miles doing that, and the only tracks we came across were our own.
Yeah. Nothing was moving out there. Which just goes to show you, animals are pretty smart.
Pretty slick, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't count on their having a not being smarter than the average bear, because they are pretty smart. You know?
Yep. Let's do our roll call, Chris, while we're here and thinking about it.
Wow.
Scroll back up here, and it's just so much chat going on. I'm having.
I don't know if I can go all the way to the top on mine, Steve.
I'm scrolling. There we are. Okay, so we have Em and Chris. Mick is in the house. B Land, hello B. She's going to be driving. Grasshopper, Prairie Fire, Angel Nolan.
Prairie Fire, Angel, good to see you.
Mr. Lee 3PO. Sandra Piper, Jay Fritz. Hello. Uncle Bones 2. Hello. Low Rider in the house.
Will?
We got Joe from Western New York, Bigfoot in the house.
Joe?
I know there's more. Don Fuller. Nikki from Hairy Man, Hoaxes and Hoodwinks. I was in her show, a very educational show today. Yeah. Joe Dryden. Hello, Joe. Leon, Bigfoot Okanagan in the house. Jen is in the house. Arthur Watch in the house. Brent from the Tall Ones in the house.
Hey, Brent.
Lockbeard. Hello, Lockbeard. Good to see you. Jen, I think we said Jen already. That's you. I was going to say Kentucky Fried Texas.
Yeah, I'm in the house.
Gary Johnson, hello, welcome.
Gary?
Scrolling down, making sure I try to get everybody. Boy, the chat's hopping tonight.
Wow, yeah.
Well, you know what? They had nothing better to do. Finding the Trackway. Hello, Mr. Trackway.
Trackway, all right. Welcome.
My Eyes in the house.
My Eyes, good to see you.
Brian and Chewy go hiking. I saw them. Yep, there they are. Raptor Crazy. Hello.
Sure.
Oh,
Aaron
Paul
Mollenkopf.
Daglian in the house. Hello.
Paul.
DM Zabo in the house. Hello. Who else? The missus is in the house, of course. And
Sherry.
I think we said Michael Haywood's in the house.
Michael.
And Jeff Trifoletti in the house. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
So if we missed anybody, my apologies. Big chat tonight. So here we are. So let me build up this little bit of information that we're going to review tonight. But I got an email from a woman out in Jackson County, West Virginia. She did say I could use the county. I was just going to use the state, but she used the county.
Yeah.
And she said, I heard you on the Bigfoot Influencers podcast, and I wanted you to take a look at some of these videos that were caught on a trail camera.
Yeah.
And not so much what was on the video, although I think it's kind of pertinent to what's going on, which I find very interesting, because there are animals spotted on the video, and it's not a Bigfoot right off the chute. Oh, it's not a Bigfoot, but the audio behind it is very, very interesting. And I just want to call up one other graphic while I'm, and of course now I can't find the folder. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it either.
So these are trail cam videos that had some audio on it too.
Correct. Yeah.
Very cool.
They had audio behind it, and it couldn't be explained. So let me just, there is one other picture I want to, there it is. Okay. So I'm not going to put that up just yet, but I have it in reserve over there. So we're good to go on that. But anyway, so let me build you up on this too. Let's go to graphic, some of the graphics as we do the build up to the actual audio. So, what we have here are two trail cameras set up on. They own 600 acres of property, and as you can see, it's pretty remote.
Yeah.
Houses are spread apart. There are some clusters here and there, like down towards and this has a north-south orientation to it.
Right.
So as you can see in the south, there's some clusters of homes in the south, but all this activity is to the north, and to the even further north, it's even more remote. So I found that quite fascinating. So camera 1 location, camera 2 location, and you're going to see 2 videos. We're actually going to show camera number 2's video first, and then camera number 1's video. So now you kind of have a grip of what, where the cameras were, what you're listening to now.
It's interesting. Yeah, we're quite above on the satellite view there too. So that's actually a pretty good distance from those roads.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that's real important. I think it's more important to be further,
now,
at least a couple of miles away.
Now, in speaking with, the person who submitted this, they're not looking for any attention. In fact, her husband doesn't believe there's anything necessarily there, but it's the husband kind of had the attitude of, well, if it's out there, I don't want to know about it because I want to go back in those woods.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what his attitude is. So, they don't, obviously this is not for attention or anything like that. They just wanted some validation. What do you think? I'm kind of stumped at this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you these pictures first because I think it's really pertinent again in building up this case here. Over the summer prior to these recordings, she came across this.
Ooh.
And now whether or not that's a track or not, I really don't know without being on the ground to look at it. It's an older track, obviously, if it is one. But it certainly does kind of fit that mold. And
that's interesting.
Yep. And then she says, well, I'm not really big on tree breaks. And very intelligent woman. thinks in the way we do.
Right.
So she's familiar with, she goes, I don't buy into all these tree bends and stuff because there's ice storms here, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But this tree break was about the 6-foot level and it had a twist to it. And then in the side picture, she's kind of showing the diameter of that. She goes, she just thought that was really peculiar because of the twist. And I'm sure she's listened to me in the past talk about, those tree breaks that are at, the 5 foot, 9, 10, 11, and 6 foot levels that have the twisting to them. And there they are. So obviously she has some concern that, hey, maybe something is going on here. And then, we have the videos that are going to come up. We're going to play those. We're going to play video number 1 right now. Let me get that up there. And so, we're going to play this one first. So. So a very interesting set of whistles there.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating is when you have that first whistle come through, you have that deer take that reaction.
Yeah.
I think the video here where, sometimes you catch something on a trail camera, there's nothing in the video to look at, or, other than something moving or maybe a small, but this, you actually get a reaction. Let's watch it again.
Something caught that deer's attention.
Absolutely. Yeah. And very, very weird. I mean, is it a bird? And well, we're gonna show you what I did because if it's a bird whistle, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yep.
So here we go again. Now, the really cool thing in that video is the deer are actually telling us the direction it's coming from. They're kind of looking to their, if I'm sitting there straight on, they're kind of looking to the, the 10 o'clock to 11:30, maybe somewhere in there. So I did run that analysis. We're going to put that up there on BirdNet and see what kind of bird. And obviously the percentiles are the bars, and interesting enough, it says human. Now she did say there'd be no reason. This is private property. It's not hunting season. Why anybody would be out there, let alone whistling at deer in the middle of the night?
Right.
Why that would be. So I just found that very interesting. So we're left with a couple of options here. This is either a human or something. Less than 5% was the clay-covered thrush, which is actually a Guatemalan, I believe, bird. It's not even a bird in the United States. So obviously, I use this website. It's through Cornell University. You can upload your bird sounds, and it will come out. And we had that one squeaker in Vermont a few years back. Right. When I ran that through there, it told me it was a screech owl. Which, okay, never heard one before. There we go. So this is a very good tool I use. So it says human. Is it a human? We don't know, because anything that whistles and in such of that decibel range, that's what they're really measuring is the spectrogram. Could it be human? Can a Sasquatch vocalize in the same human spectrum? So I found that very, very fascinating. Now the next one, we didn't need to run through BirdNet because it's not a whistle. It's not any type of call. But we'll run that one more time just so everybody can see it one more time. So I just find that pretty interesting.
I like it, but I tell you what, it does sound like either a human or a bird mocking a human whistle. A bird that's been trained, and I'm talking like a parrot or something like that.
Yeah, parrot in the middle of West Virginia. I don't think so, because parrots are tropical birds.
That's not going to happen. Yeah, there's not going to be one in the woods.
Yeah, you're mimicking birds are usually tropical birds that. But I have no reason to believe that any sounds were superimposed on this just by the reaction of the deer.
The deer tell the story.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah. So what it is, I don't know, but it's pretty fascinating stuff. Now, the next one, this one gets really interesting. And of course, I've enhanced in both videos, I enhanced the audio a bit. I boosted the audio so people can hear it a lot easier.
Yeah.
This one is actually a howl. And it don't sound like no dog to me. So here we go.
Pretty long howl there, wasn't it?
And not dog-like at all, just by the way it tails off like that.
Kind of weird, yeah.
I'll play it again. Now, my whole thing is why is that coyote scampering away?
Yeah.
Was there a sound before it came into view of the camera?
Yeah.
That tripped it to capture the sound and the audio. Was it something that it heard prior to that?
Well, I can't get into the mind of a coyote, but it seems to me if he heard that, he would stop, if it's another coyote and maybe join in. He seems to be kind of creeping along there.
Yep. Now, the interesting thing is that the camera that you see is actually facing in the direction of the whistler.
Mm.
So it's, I don't know. We'll watch it one more time. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a dog just by that tail. Ooh.
That's weird.
Yeah. Again, I think we're left with two possibilities. It's either a human or not. So I think it's really some fascinating stuff. So let's it'd been nice to and I think a lot of people now, my eyes as a person, but again, in the middle of the night, in the middle of these dark woods.
Well, after
on private property, mind you. You understand, when you're dealing with a lot of, this isn't public land that they're on. This is, private posted property. So.
And you don't really know what was making the sound because we can't see it, but it does sound a little off. It could be a coyote or a dog, but it does sound a little off. And I think what you pointed out, the ending is a little odd.
Well, Raptor says that sound is on YouTube call blasting. Well, find it for me.
That'd be interesting.
Send me a link, Raptor.
That would be interesting, yeah. But now, after Scott and Tommy and I got made that hillside video, and we walked about 100 yards away. We heard coyote or howling sounds. Don't know what was making it, but this was after the hillside.
Is the timestamp accurate? The howl was just before 9 p.m. No, the timestamps were not accurate on those games. By the way, they were off a bit.
Good to know. Yeah.
So the likelihood of this being a hoax.
Well, yeah, it would have been nicer if the timestamps had been set, but that don't always happen. People just set their cams out and don't read the manual. Well, I'm really bad about that.
Well, not only that, but I think it sounds like to me that a lot of times they lose time too. You'll have cameras in the battery, you'll put them out and the time will be off. Happens to my FLIR. I'll have a FLIR that's plugged in and charged all the time. And I don't deal with it for, a couple of weeks. I'll come back, even though it's fully charged.
Yeah.
The time's off.
And it'd be kind of nice to know, though, if it was happening at 2 or 3 in the morning, then more likely you're not going to have a hoaxer out there at 3 in the morning trying to pull a joke on somebody's game cam.
Maintain that sound to the very end. Human would have. So I don't know. I think the second sound is very interesting. If that is a YouTube sound, I mean, like I said, I have no reason to think that sound was put onto these. At all. Who knows? But you never know. But they're interesting if they're accurate. Like I said, you can only if it was a joke on me, which I don't believe it is, it would. The joke's really not on me because anybody can put forth a very good. I mean, they're doing all the right things. They have the story behind the evidence, or evidence, or their clips. They're I don't know if you'd call it evidence. I guess it's evidence, but it's not conclusive.
They're not saying this is Bigfoot. They're saying this is a sound I've not heard before.
Yeah. Right. But let me explain. I've had a long talk with the wife, who is the one who collected this information.
Right.
And her husband, like I said, is like, well, I don't want to know what it is. I don't want nothing to do with it. And in talking with her, you get a vibe whether or not somebody's trying to pull your leg.
Right.
And like I said, it wasn't her saying this is Bigfoot. This is her saying, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Could it be?
Yeah.
So,
and, I could relate to the husband. I mean, he's a West Virginia guy. He's basically, we do the same things in Kentucky. So, he's probably an outdoorsman, likes to hunt and fish. And if Bigfoot is out there, he probably don't want to know about it because it'll ruin his hunting.
Now, on the other side, she is a Bigfoot believer. Mm-hmm. She mentioned that she did go to last year's Ohio Bigfoot conference.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And her take on it was, well, if I go in there and there's a bunch of crazy people in here, I'm leaving immediately.
Right.
And she didn't. She stayed. She says, no, the arguments were very compelling. And she, she started, watching some of my stuff, and she has an antithesis against hoaxers. Yeah. So, it never fails again.
I found these files to be interesting. The first one with the whistles, there's been a lot of reports on whistles, and Brandon and myself had experienced some whistles, but it wasn't like that. It was different.
Yep.
Kind of a
whistle. The whistle one, that was real. I mean, I was like, well, God, could it be a bird?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at BirdNet. That's not a blue jay.
Yeah.
And the blue jay is under 5%. It's like the 3% thing.
Yeah.
The thrush is under, maybe 4%. And like I said, the thrush isn't even from the United States.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really as interested in the whistle because, that could just be human, or it could be somebody's pet bird in a cage sitting out making whistling sounds.
Yeah, but here's the kicker on that. If it had been a bird in a cage, that would have came up on BirdNet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what it says is with 51% certainty out of all the other options.
Yeah.
Obviously you look at the graph, it's the biggest one there by a huge margin. By more than 10 times the second choice. Right. That is a human.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? It means it's a human or something that can whistle like
it's something. Yeah, it's something that can pucker their lips and blow.
So, I don't know.
But I watch a lot of videos on mini bikes and small engines. You know what? I like to do that in my pastime.
Yep.
And I watched DIY Willie has got a bird in the background when he's working outside of his garage. His bird is named Spike, and he just whistles along in the background while Willie's working on something, and I just love it, man. But,
yeah, and the that howl though really has got me fascinated. I mean,
I'm more interested in the howl than I am the whistle.
Yeah. Well, they're all kind of related a bit,
right?
I mean, look at the deer's reaction.
Yeah.
So the yoke, it could have been the howl that scared him away. It could have been just it running past the camera.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Why he's moving along in front of the camera when there's a howl going? It seemed like he would stop and listen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How does a coyote think? I don't know.
Yep. And mind you, the sounds on these have been amplified. So a lot of people who are saying, well, maybe it's a Bluetooth speaker or maybe it's, no, I had to bring the sound up quite a bit to get those out of that. They're actually very low on the original videos.
Yeah, you can hear the bugs in the background really got amplified.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't anything that was close by. And that's usually, no, it's there is a din that's going on, maybe wind, when they say it sounds like a vacuum cleaner or metallic, but the woo, if you hear the tail end of the woo, that is definitely not mechanical. That is, and that's what listening to it very carefully and having an ear for this, doing this for all these years, it's kind of funny. One of the, when Garrett had, took those gorilla sounds and put them on a tape recording or a MP3 recording. Yeah. He recorded that off of, YouTube, the gorilla sounds, and you could hear the fan in the background or the air conditioner in the background going compared to the original. Yeah. And you know what, Brent, though, I have no reason to suspect anybody of hoaxing. So this is not a Bluetooth speaker. I am fairly certain of that. It just, the recording to me is just, because I've gotten the original videos and they were, untampered. If I run them through, here, I'll do this real quick.
Did you run the howl through the
Bird?
That would show up on BirdNet, would it?
Nah, not really. I mean,
no. It's interesting. The whistles, well, they're both interesting. The whistles,
yeah, I mean, it's a MOV file, which leads me to suspect it's not been set through a processor. When you usually run those through processors, you don't have, you rarely have the option to put it into usually it's an MP4 format.
Yep.
Or an MPEG format.
Yeah.
This was an MOV file. And it's not a very big file. It's a very small 881 kilobytes. Again, indicative that nothing has been layered into it because it's such a small file. You take a bigger sound file and throw that in there.
You got at least 2 or 3 megabyte, maybe 4.
The frame height is correct. It's, the frame width and height are, 320 by 568. That's a trail cam setting. Usually when you throw those into a processor, and like I did, Mine will be much different. Like if I look at the properties on my particular video, it's 39 megabytes.
Yeah.
Right.
Big difference.
Right. It's 39 megabytes. So when you run it through the processor, it makes a much bigger file. So
yeah. And especially with sound files, a lot of megabytes in a sound file, even a small sound file.
Yeah. Especially if you're putting an MP3 into it. Definitely. Definitely. So
it would seem that the game cam videos have not been altered. So that's a plus point for originality there.
Well, it sounded like the Ohio howl, but they shortened it a bit. No, maybe it sounds like the. Let me ask you a question: how many people here believe in a quick question for the chat? Who believes in the Sierra Sounds? You know who believes in the Sierra Sounds? Why haven't those sounds been more heard around the United States?
I don't know.
Right?
That's interesting.
But you have something.
I always thought they were interesting.
It sounded like the Ohio, Raptor, sounded like the Ohio, but they shortened it a little bit. Who's they? Who shortened it? The people that gave this to me? I don't think so. If you have something that's, a legitimate creature, I mean, a coyote howl is going to sound like a coyote howl.
Yeah.
So if you actually captured the Ohio howl, which is a real Bigfoot, if you think that's a real Bigfoot, then why wouldn't somebody else capture something similar?
Yeah.
Yep. And the whole room is going, nope, they're not big believers in the Sierra Sounds.
Well,
because, you just don't hear those sounds. But that's why I'm saying is that you can't take a sound and go, well, that's got to be a recording of it because it sounds like the Ohio howl. Well, you would expect an animal of one, species, the same species to sound similar, wouldn't you?
You'd think.
Right. Well, Kaiju says the language that I've captured here in Washington doesn't sound like the Sierra Sounds, but I did hear a growl once. It sounded exactly like, there you go. So I don't know. But like when people say the Ohio howl, it kind of sounds, of course it sounds like the Ohio howl. Because, it's probably a legitimate recording. So just
it is kind of interesting that the thought that these creatures may imitate something else, and I think they might do that. I think they might. What do you think, Steve? I think it's possible.
It's possible.
I think they probably realize their sound is very distinct. So they may refrain from making their sounds.
Right. I think it's not the same as the Ohio howl. I think it's similar. And finding the track, like I said, I've heard something really similar. And when I heard that second one, the howl, I'm like, yep, I've heard that myself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where. I think
I'm really skeptical of the howls. I really am.
Yeah.
Even the Ohio howl, I'm skeptical of that. But,
I mean, this wasn't a long,
right.
This was just a,
yeah.
Yeah.
But there is something there that's a little odd. I granted with the Ohio howl too, there's something there that's a little odd. And, I probably, if Scott and Tommy and I hadn't experienced something similar after that one incident, I would probably not think twice about listening for a coyote howl. But now it's got me thinking, well, what if, what if?
Don Fuller said, I take the Sierra Sounds more seriously if they didn't go quantum. Well, you got to understand for 40 years, they didn't go quantum.
Yeah, that just happened lately. Yeah.
and understand that a person's beliefs can change. Like Dr. Matt Johnson's first sighting. I have no reason to doubt that sighting was a very legit sounding sighting. But what happens to somebody's mind when you think about Bigfoot a little too much, and like I say, you have a sense of anthropocentrism. Yeah. Anthropocentrism, where you're thinking that there's a reason why we can't solve this because we are the greatest minds on the planet. I know it's got to be that they're smarter than us and they're blinking in from another dimension or coming out of a wormhole or a UFO or they're paranormal. That's why we can't get them. That's partly our own anthropocentrism because
like when they have
it's got to be smarter than us.
Yeah, the shows like the Central American or South American people where they had the head bindings on the infant skulls and they elongated them and stuff. You know, that's a known practice, and I've seen some shows that had they marketed that as those being aliens. Oh yeah.
Yep, I have had two. In fact, if you scroll back somewhere, I think on one of the podcasts, I actually aired the video of me talking about it right after I had seen it. I mean, like they came out with the camera on me.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And the Mzabo in 2010, I had a few. Nothing since.
I do question. Kaiser says, I do question why Ron wasn't able to capture more of those sounds since the 70s and why other people haven't captured sounds like those. I believe on the
good question.
I believe on the Sierra Sounds 2 CD, which I have both of them, of course. That was in the days when I got into this, CDs were a thing.
Yes.
And I have both of them. And of course, now I have them digitally because I moved them from CD to a MP3 file.
Right.
And
can we get rid of that chart, Steve?
You don't like the chart?
No, it's really bright.
Yeah, there's something there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I could put something up funny.
Those Sierra sounds are interesting to listen to, but I've never heard anything like that.
There you go, Chris.
Oh, no. What's Bigfoot going to call him? It's terrible. But
it's terribly funny.
It's funny, yeah.
Sorry, I just looked at something over here.
Yeah, I'm checking out the chat room too.
So if you guys have any questions, please put them in chat. Go ahead. I watched an 8-inch show being shook like it was nothing and heard what sounded like three things having an argument. The Sierra Sounds minus the Samurai Chatter and pretty close to it. There you go.
Pretty cool.
Yep. So you hear the story of the Sierra Sounds. I have no reason to doubt them necessarily. They were the audio equivalent to the Patterson-Gimlin film. Yeah. Because they came out in 74, 75. They really started. And they had gotten not so much Ron Moorhead, but Al Berry, the guy who actually recorded the first ones. So you got to understand, Alan Berry was a reporter who got kind of dragged into this. He had heard the stories and was very skeptical about it. So he put his recording equipment out and he had captured those. And, he was on In Search Of. And if you listen, you'll hear the Samurai, you'll hear those sounds on In Search Of back in, I think, 75 or 76 in Search Of. So,
he was, at best I remember, he was really, really skeptical. And they said, well, come on,
come on. There were Lance Windsor. Has anyone ever heard ground pounding in the forest? Yes.
Yep.
There was a what I can remember, there was an Ezra expedition, and Chuck was cooking his famous pork chops, fire going, had him going pretty good, and all of a sudden they started hearing this boom, 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 boom.
It's pretty interesting. There's a bunch of us the first.
Chessboard. Welcome, chessboard. I saw those every day.
There was a bunch of us went out coyote hunting late one night.
Good evening, Laughing Picker. Good evening.
And after we got in, I mean, we had heard something over in the woods that was a really loud thump. Sounded like something stomped the ground really hard.
Yeah.
And so there was like 4 or 5 of us, and we was like, we was looking at each other. What the heck was that? I don't know. And there weren't any. We didn't get any coyotes. So we just came home. Now we had been doing these predator calls, and what it is like a wounded rabbit call. It's a really unnerving shrieking. Okay. And while we were doing that, we heard that boom, boom. Something was pounding, stomping the ground. So we were all back.
Or could it be?
It could be. It's something thumping. But it sounded like it was something that hit the ground hard. So we were all back. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. We were back at my house in the front yard, a gang of us, like 4 or 5 guys. And we were talking about it, and we were each stomping the ground in my front yard we couldn't make the sound. We could not make it. No matter how hard we stomped, we could not.
That's why I'm thinking it may be a chest pound.
Yeah. It sounded really, yeah.
Just
it
like
sounded
people, just like some people think the tree knocks are actually mouth pops. So, don't know. So much questions left to answer in this mystery. But yeah, boy, I wish we had that call-in line tonight. That would have been real fun, hearing some people's opinions and talking to them.
That's interesting. Yeah. Trees falling in the woods
without snaps.
Yeah.
That could be just picking something up and throwing it.
Yeah.
It could. Who says a tree could be a big boulder too?
Well, we had heard a tree come down when we was out in the Area D back in 2010, and we didn't think nothing about it. Of course, you're out there. How often does a tree fall in the woods? Well, if you're out there one day, you're going to be lucky. Maybe you're going to hear a tree fall. And we heard one. Like, oh, that was cool. And just a few minutes later, we heard another one fall. Well, we left.
Yeah.
We left. 2 trees falling within just a few minutes' time. Something's weird.
Yep. Joe says, believe it or not, rabbits thump with their back feet when alarmed, and it can be quite loud.
Yeah. I showed one of those trees on that rock throwing video of mine, Steve, that I don't even think it's on the site anymore, on the page anymore, but I went to go check out those trees where they had fell. They were pine trees, and the bark was completely gone off one side. Completely gone. And it's not like it was dying. It was yellow underneath. So, something had taken the bark off.
But could it be a human? Could be a human, too.
Yeah, don't know what. Right. Could be a human.
Because some people, especially if it's, from here to here, right. Some people like to pick the bark, so they start that as kindling in a fire.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it ends up damaging the tree and killing the tree eventually. So I don't know, thumping animals. I didn't even think of even looking that up, having, the thumping topic come up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that if bark is taken off at the 5-foot level, 6-foot level down, I don't think we're going to talk about a beaver.
Yeah. And Chris, Steve, I agree, Chris, by the way, there's 2 trees are 180. 2 trees happen to fall down. Yeah, it was kind of strange. I think the Scott was with me at that time. Scott was still interested in the topic. Yep. And we heard one fall and was like, what the heck was that? A tree fell. And then just a minute or two later, another one fell. And so, we both agreed, let's get out of here. Let's just go. Don't know if it was Bigfoot or not, but if trees are falling, I don't want to be under one.
Yep.
Wasn't windy, no wind. Just weird things.
Joe just asked, could it be a porcupine? No, not if the effing Wonder from Vermont was up there. Then it would be a porcupine. Yeah, but unfortunately, there are no moose Don in Kentucky.
Not that we know of. I mean, we have elk here somewhere. I think they're over in eastern Kentucky or maybe western Kentucky. We just don't have any here locally. I wished we did have, I always heard stories back when I was deer hunting that there was one elk in the area and people that saw him called him Slewfoot. And he had about the hoof print of the size of a cow. And but I never saw it.
Paranormal moose.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so Kaiju asked, what are your thoughts on wood knocks? Is it Bigfoot? If so, do you think they use wood on wood or on rocks on wood? Their hands, I've never heard of a report someone seeing them wood knock. I have. Somebody did say that they had seen one knocking on a tree before. From my own personal experience, do I believe it's a Bigfoot activity? Yes, I do. And there's a reason why. Actually, it happened in Kentucky, land between the lakes.
Yeah.
And we had heard some tree knocking coming from the vicinity of camp, and I thought that the one guy left in camp was the guy who was doing it. And
right.
I was like, we didn't want any noise. We just wanted to go dark and walk around and get things spontaneously, because I like doing that sometimes without trying to provoke anything.
Right.
And so we went back and here I am getting ready to chew somebody out saying, I thought we weren't going to tree knock. And the guy was frozen in place, pointing over an area. He goes, it just came from that area. That's where the tree knocking was coming from, really close.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was kind of just staying put for a while. And there was another group of campers that seemed to have heard something over. If I'm looking out towards the lake, tree knock came from my right, and the campers were over to my left. And they were looking in the woods for something, like they had heard something. You see flashlights going. And somebody asked me, what are your thoughts? I go, I have a feeling that there's one on the left. And the reason why there's something knocking on the right was because it was trying to say, hey, I'm over here. Yeah. But right now we're kind of here, right at the edge of the water here and up.
Right.
And I think we're blocking its path.
Yeah.
So a few minutes goes by, somebody goes, well, let's just walk out of the camp. We'll take everybody, see what happens. We get 50 feet out of the camp and we hear boom, 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 boom,
right.
boom. Something run through the camp from where I was facing, from the left to the right, to where the tree knocking was going to. That's the kind of direction it was going to. So yeah, I do think they tree knock to actually geolocate, to tell you the truth. And I think it's a smart enough way, and it's an intelligent way, not super intelligent, that they may have developed a cultural thing too. That's why you may have, now understand this too, is chimpanzees, orangutans, gorillas, they all have culture. Certain groups may do certain things that others do not. They learn it.
Right.
And that is the basis. Like certain chimpanzees will use sticks to go down anthills. Other chimpanzees don't have a clue about it.
Right.
That teaching of different things from, their family groups or their groups,
exactly.
That represents culture.
Right.
So it's very well possible you have some, well, I never hear tree knocking. Well, it may be that's not the way they do things. They were never taught that.
Yeah.
So it could change culturally from group to group to group to group.
Well, yeah, it does make sense that they would, because, as I said before, I think if they make their sounds, they are very easily identified as, hey,
Yep.
that's not right. Something that's not something I normally hear. So I think that very possible they do make tree knocks.
Yep.
Never seen one do it. But
Well, let's go back to episode 72 when we did the live stream from the mountain, the first one.
Yeah.
Where we get something walking around, coming closer to me.
Right.
And even then it was like, I'm not saying this is a Bigfoot because I can't see it, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to fleer. I can't see it. I retreat a little bit. Mike Gann comes down. We start going down the hill. He picks up something very briefly on his FLIR and it disappears. And then bang, you hear this tree knock.
Yeah.
Loud, very loud. Unfortunately, the phone that we're using doesn't really pick up. It has noise cancellation. So its range isn't that great. So it didn't really pick it up very well. But Mike's recorder did.
Yeah.
And it was facing the opposite direction because he was looking at his recorder was facing the back way. So even that had to be turned up a little bit so you could hear it. And truthfully, it sounded, that's why when, and what spawned on me is that finding the trackway, I have to admit, when you have a wood knock hit close to you, you're okay. My first thoughts were,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was our thoughts. And then a little while later, we go down the hill.
Yeah.
Chris, have you ever thought someone tried to sound like they were from Kentucky, but you knew they weren't very easily? Bigfoot may be the same.
Maybe the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
you can't
we go
fake
down
the
further
accent.
yeah. And then we go down further, and then something throws a rock at us.
Yeah.
So could they use wood knocking as intimidation too? Perhaps. But then again, the girls were hearing stuff too on the opposite side. You got to understand, we were on one side. The girls were kind of across the road on the other side that were running they were doing the desk.
I think there may be some correlation there to the tree knocking as related to the Bigfoot mystery, maybe. But there are other times when you hear tree knocking or a knock in the woods, it may have nothing to do with Bigfoot whatsoever, or like if you go out late in the fall or in the wintertime where it's below freezing, bark will split, and that makes a pop.
Right.
And that could be mistaken for a tree knock.
Especially in cold weather. Yep.
Yes.
Especially in cold weather. Yep. Once that, and I know I used to walk out my old place because we had a lot of trees, and if it's 10 degrees out, 15 degrees out, 20 degrees out, you all of a sudden you hear that tree, contracting or and that's what's causing that pop. I don't know. People say, "Oh, I got success rate of 80% time." Well, where do you go to? Is that just one location or is that multiple locations? That's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
Because if it's in multiple locations, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Very simple. I have wood knocked quite a bit, and I think maybe with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 times I've gotten responses, and usually they're 1 or 2 knocks and that's it.
Right.
The first time I got a bunch of responses was down in Texas, but I can't rule out that there was some human involvement in that.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of put that one aside. At the time I thought maybe, but then the more the investigation dug into the investigation, the more I thought there were some elements around that area that that may have been kind of observing us and, basically egging us on.
Yeah. I think it's a tool. I really do. I think it's a good tool to use to find out where you may have possible activity.
Or at least get their attention. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what we started going into some of the areas over where we go because of that. And we would stop at a different area and tree knock and then listen.
Yep.
And if we didn't hear anything, we'd be like, well, okay, probably nothing here. And then we went to an area one time and tree knocked, and then we got a response. And we're like, okay, this one's going on the list. Come back and do some research here. I don't think it's. Go ahead.
And Laughing Picker sets the example. South Fork in Ohio is so overrun with squatches. I wouldn't trust. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. There's so many people there that vocalizations and tree knocks. You got to be in a real good, quiet area.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when we did episode 72 at Lincoln Mountain, there was nobody up there. Zip. Yeah. It was no cars, no nothing. One way in, one way out. Very bad roads. There was nobody up there. And, to get an unprovoked tree knock, and it was 48 degrees or 50 degrees that night. Yeah. So it wasn't cold enough to get that expansion and contraction of the tree.
Plus, Mike got the hit on the FLIR, the brief hit, something moving. So, yeah.
So yeah, and then then there's the whole, just rock clacking. Has anybody heard rock clacking? There's a good question.
Not that I know of. I heard a rock hit a tree one time, and I mean it was thrown with an incredible force. It made a very loud thud when it hit the tree. And when it came down, it was bouncing, through the woods. And I'm just glad it wasn't thrown at me.
Kaiju, said, he heard some rock clacking. I've heard that too. Got that on recording too. Maybe someday I'll play it for the gaggle. And we got some whoops too, which was, something whoop, whoop, whoop. And some rock clacking.
I've seen piles of mussel shells in these little islands in the middle of the river before that I couldn't explain.
Yep, seen that. I've seen emptied out turtle shells too.
Yeah,
pile of those.
Mm-hmm. And you look at them. There's no tool marks on there. There's no evidence of a campfire cooking. Just like somebody was digging up freshwater clams and popping them apart.
Yeah.
And, cleaning them out, then dumping them down. But it was a nice pile, piled up nicely.
And there's the other interesting thing too, is people who, it's like, oh, I'm going to bait the Sasquatch with peanut butter.
Yeah.
Sasquatch doesn't even know what the hell peanut butter is. Why would you think it would go after that? It's like putting a bunch of oranges out there for a Sasquatch in New York State. It's not something they get regularly. They have no idea what it is. Maybe you'll get a bite off of it, but
yeah. You remember, Steve? I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, I've got an area, and I'm going to take it out of him, and I'm going to bait them." And I was putting oranges and stuff that I knew chimpanzees would just loved, and I thought, "Oh, this is it. I'm going to get them," And they didn't touch it. No, had no interest in orange whatsoever.
And I got to get Bruce Hallenbeck's new book, who talks about the Kinderhook creature, because as he tried, there was at his mother's house, and she was an elderly woman, and you're not prone to baloney, and she had seen one on her property maybe a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And he started putting bait up on the chicken coop, or the birdhouse, not the chicken coop, the birdhouse. Took the birdhouse off, put it up, so it was up a bit. And he put, first he put some raw chicken up there, and that disappeared. And then he put some cooked chicken, and that disappeared. And he tried some beef, and that disappeared. So then he put a pizza up there. And lo and behold, the pizza, the pizza was gone. And then he found the box at the edge of the wood line. And the box had been ripped open, but the pizza wasn't touched.
Huh.
So
something opened up the box and just said, "What the heck is that?"
Do I eat it? Do I not?
Yeah, you would think if it was a homeless person or something, they would have taken the pizza for sure.
Joe says Bigfoot prefers Jiff over Peter Pan any day of the week, but he also prefers Skippy over Jiff. Yes, creamy. He doesn't like the ones with the nuts in it.
Oh, God.
Well,
I know they don't like oranges.
yeah.
Not in Kentucky, anyway. I don't know. They might like them in Florida. Who knows?
They probably, if there are orange groves, they're probably familiar with it. Like I said, your primates will have cultural differences.
Right.
That's why the chimpanzees in the area with the anthills learn that with the sticks to pick out the ants to strip them and eat them.
Yeah.
In New York, I'm sure Bigfoot likes corn and likes apples and, blackberries and, wild berries because we have a ton of those.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they would have no clue if you left a banana out there, what to do with it, how to even eat it, open it. But you show a chimpanzee how to open a banana, and next thing you know,
oh yeah,
you get them to try it. Yeah. The thing is that we're not having that interaction with them to try this. To show them here, open the banana and try it.
Well, the chimpanzees are very, very smart. I mean, it's scary how smart these guys are, and you just can't believe it. I had a lot of time spent over at the Alamogordo Primate facility when I was in the Air Force down there. I'd stop in, and the guys were in the cages. I'd stop in and visit with them, bring them sticks of gum. There was one enjoyed cigarettes. I know probably people are going to get angry with me about that, but he loved to smoke cigarettes, and he would do this. When I would come, he would go like this, and I would light the cigarette for him and hand it through the cage, and he would take and smoke it just like a human being, puff it and blow the smoke out. He enjoyed it. I don't think he inhaled. I don't think he did, but he loved to smoke the cigarette, and he loved gum. They loved candy. Just amazing. But for a chimpanzee to look at you and remember, okay, first of all, he's got a memory of you. He knew who I was. He recognized me by sight. And then he knew I smoked. And he went like this and put up to his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible. Incredible.
The other interesting thing is citrus is very tart. So they may not like that tartness either.
Yeah.
You think about it, you get an orange that isn't necessarily the sweetest, like, like a lemon or anything citrusy. I think is a flavor that, we've kind of grown accustomed to.
Yeah.
So it may not be something like a banana that's not really tart. A watermelon, not tart. But a, cantaloupe, honeydew melons, all again, not tart. But, an orange, that's going to have a bit of acidity to it. And that's maybe a turnoff to them.
The chimpanzees loved them. And that's kind of what I was thinking. If the chimpanzees loved them, then maybe these, they're primates. Maybe they'll love them. No, didn't work.
Yeah, because the primates were probably, hand fed them.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, of course, okay, this is food. I'll try it. And then they've grown accustomed to it.
Probably.
Whereas,
the ones we're trying to bait with the orange in the wild don't know what the heck that thing is.
Well, and here's a great thing is the first time, and I know, Chris, you're not a sushi fan.
No.
And,
as long as it's cooked.
I had mine first, and I was very, had some trepidation about it. And I was like, well, I don't know what I think about it. But then I tried it again and again and again, and I got accustomed to the taste, and I began to like it. So, I mean, certain things you grow accustomed to liking. I mean, who the hell would automatically like, hot sauce? Yeah. Right? But you like, after a while, like, oh, that tartness, oh, that's pretty good. Horseradish, so you grow accustomed to that. And I'm sure it's the same thing. Like I know people that will eat a lime.
Yeah.
Or even a lemon. They'll suck on lemons. And like,
no, not me. No.
Ooh, I like it over my seafood. I like it in, with sugar and water, but not,
Now,
but there's some people that like that.
The wife loves limes. Of course, she's from Thailand, and she's like squeezes fresh lime juice over everything, and I'm like, ugh, get that away. Of course, she eats sushi too.
No, I don't mind. No. I don't mind lime juice on certain things, like it does. In the proper dosages, it can very well add to the enhancement of flavor to a palate.
Yes,
but for the most part, it's not something you would just go ahead and go, oh, lime.
Well, yeah, it's just the difference in what you like. Some of the stuff I like kind of spicy food, just a little bit. A little pepper is fine by me. But those Thai people, the food they eat they're insane. They eat stuff that you put in your mouth, and it feels like you put gasoline in your mouth and lit it on fire.
Oh, it don't feel that bad, Chris.
There's no enjoyment there whatsoever. That's just searing pain.
But you see, I love it. I love hot food.
Oh,
some people, like I said,
a little tingle on the tongue is okay. But a roaring fire in the mouth is no. That's not happening.
There's a soundbite. Chris saying a little tingle on the tongue. We're gonna soundbite that bitch for something else.
Oh man.
Don't
like the hot food. Yeah.
So you can expect that. Laughing Picker makes a great sauerkraut's definitely an acquired taste, not natural at all. And I'm German. I am German too. And I got fed sauerkraut as a child.
Yep.
And I love sauerkraut and a dog.
Yeah.
And or on kielbasa. So I don't mind sauerkraut. I won't eat it just by itself, but I'll have it with an accompaniment with
I had it sauerkraut and wieners. When I was a kid, we had sauerkraut and wieners. Not all the time, but once every other week or so. But I think I ate enough when I was a kid. I don't really need any more.
Now, Sandra Piper makes a great thing. Beer. There is something that's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And it's bitter. It's got an aftertaste. It's not sweet. It may quench the thirst for a short period of time. But what's the real kick on beer? And then after a while, people get used to it and go, oh, this is good. Oh, give me the real, give me a Guinness. Let me try a Guinness. It's really, even more bitter. I love a good Guinness. Again, that's an acquired taste. So there are tastes that normally we would have an aversion to that over time we would, get used to. And I'm sure that's actually true with all primates. They may have an aversion to oranges. Think about an orange. First time a Bigfoot grabs an orange. And it looks and it bites into it because it doesn't know how to peel it, right?
Yeah.
And it bites into it. What does an orange rind taste like?
Oh yeah, it's really bitter. Yeah.
Bitter. Yeah. So that's why citrus fruit would not be good at all for, and if you put a grapefruit out there, look out because it's probably going to lob it back at you.
But you would think that the smell, I know primates are not really known for having a great sense of smell, but you would think that the smell would entice it,
But if you smell a citrus fruit, again, that's part of that acquired taste. It actually smells a little bit bitter to it.
Yeah.
Think about smelling an apple versus smelling an orange.
Right.
The orange has a bitter smell to it because you're smelling the rind. But the apple doesn't. That smells nice and fruity. And then you eat it, it's like, oh, this is sour.
Plus, those are natural, yeah.
Right. Uh-oh. Mick brought up Limburger cheese. Again, being German smells like hell, but I don't mind it. I'll eat it.
Nah. Are we talking about Bigfoot food or our food? We just get that.
Here comes the $1 million question. Do you think skunk apes eat citrus fruits in Florida? I would think they do. I think they would get accustomed to
I would think so.
what's available. You know, I think that naturally berries would be good. Berries are universal, sweet, fruity, effervescent.
Right.
Apple, same thing. But certain things like citrus would be a localized menu for them. Just like, salmon.
Yeah.
I don't think a New York Bigfoot would really grab salmon too much. But one in the Pacific Northwest very well might.
Oh, yeah. He knows exactly what that is. Yeah.
Right. So.
It's interesting. A lot of theory, a lot of great theories in the chat here, different things about trying stuff. That's what I like about this. You guys are so sharp. And you come up with a lot of great...
I want to get the damn phone line.
Yeah. A lot of great ideas. Yeah.
Now, I got a question for you guys in the chat, since you're all in there and we got a good group in there tonight. How many, if we get this phone line going, how many would call in to ask a question or to make a comment? Just by a show of hands, yes, why for yes and for no. Let's hear your answers right now. We'll see. If we get enough whys, we'll keep it going. We'll get that some bitch running.
How many would call in to say, Chris, you sound like a hillbilly?
Or Steve, you sound like a manure salesman with a mouthful of samples.
But Steve, you don't have that Long Island accent. My buddy from years ago when I was in the military, Keith, he was from Long Island. And he had a really strong accent. But he said, well, I don't have an accent. He says, the people upstate have accents. Well, I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all.
I never realized it, but I have a definite New York accent when I say the word BALL.
Yeah.
Because I say ball.
Yeah.
And that is something, and I know it's pronounced ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
but I've always said all my life, football, baseball, basketball, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never even realized it, that other people were saying baseball or football.
Yeah.
Right? So there's times when I have to rein back because my parents were from the Bronx and who taught me how to speak.
Yeah. Well, Keith would say like the radiator in your car, he would call a radiator. It's not a radiator, it's a radiator.
Radiator.
And
how do you say the word CREEK?
Oh, well, I say creek, but some people say KRIK or K.
Well, yeah, up in upstate New York, everybody calls it a crick. Oh, that's
crick.
A crick.
Yeah, that's a crick.
What do you call that little?
We got a lot of Y's there.
What do you call that little valley? Just a little valley.
Oh, that's a holler. Yeah,
I know.
That's a holler.
I've learned that one.
Hills and hollers.
That's a hill. That's a holler. But in upstate New York, it's a valley.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we don't really have in South Central Kentucky. We don't really have a lot of mountains here. That's kind of over in the eastern part of the state. But we have knobs, and knobs, and then we have hills and hollers. A lot of Y's there. So I say a lot of people's going to be calling. That would be good if we can get the call in line working. Eventually, it'll work. It'll happen. It's coming.
All right. So we're going to ask one more question while we're on this topic.
Oh,
what do you call this, Chris?
Well, looked like a sub sandwich to me.
A submarine.
Yeah.
Coffee. Does that sound like I have an accent?
I don't know. It just sounds normal to me.
Coffee. Yeah, I don't say coffee. I don't say coffee. I say coffee.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking. The people of Long Island say coffee. Come on, let's go have coffee.
I know they have different names for sub sandwiches. They call them like gyros, and some people call them a gyro and a gyro.
Well, that's not a sub. That is a thing in a pita bread.
Yeah.
But some places they call them hoagies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't ever call it that.
Or a grinder, which is more of your Massachusetts thing, the grinder.
That picture you're showing there, I would call that lunch.
Or another one, a hero. They call it a hero.
I've heard that before, but I've never used it. Yeah.
Yep.
Hero.
And look at what he's in there. Hoagie, hero, sub, grinder.
Grinder, yeah.
Sandwich. Nah, nobody calls it sandwich. Maybe Joe. Joe calls it sandwich. So I figured.
Ask Chris what Coca-Cola is. Well, it's Coke.
It's Coke.
Coke. Sometimes I say soda, but it's Coke. Normally,
you know what they're looking for. I know what they're looking for. They're asking if you call it soda or pop.
Oh. Yeah, we don't use pop. I know I've heard people.
Yeah, I don't use pop either. We use soda here.
Soda, yeah.
Now, you go south. What do you call those things you wear on your feet? Especially the ones made by Nike.
Tennis shoes. Tenny. Tenny. Tennis shoes.
Yeah. Tennis shoes. They call them tennis shoes. They're sneakers.
Sneakers? Oh, no. No.
Well, you don't. Well, that's funny because.
Soda pop. Soda pop. I've heard that.
Just like it's Santa Claus.
Yeah. I've heard that.
But that's right. Tennis shoes. Well, I'm not playing tennis. They're actually basketball sneakers. Why would we call them tennis shoes?
Yeah.
So I find that what it was weird. Back in the day when they first started wearing them.
Right.
Because the tennis players would wear them. So they called them tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And it stuck with the South and it's kept on going.
Yeah. Now, being from South Central Kentucky, we call everything, of course, I drink ski, but we call everything a Coke. You want a can of Coke? Or when you pull up to the drive-through window, you get, or you're ordering, you say, I want a sandwich or give me a burger and fries and a Coke. I'm sorry, we only have Pepsi. Well, that'll do. Which kind of Coke do you want? Do you want Coca-Cola or you want Pepsi? That's it.
It's a cola.
It's local, and the Bigfoot, the same thing. I'm sure they'll have their own little local things, habits, and I don't know about accents, but they have their own local self-taught stuff.
Jen says my dad, who was a cop, would call them perp shoes. There we go. Yep.
Oh, I remember those, Steve. There was the kids wore those flashing lights.
They still do.
Yeah.
Kids
Well, it was a big thing back in the early or mid 2000s. Yeah, a lot of kids were wearing those to school.
Here's the question, $1 million. Have you ever seen a baby pigeon? No, I have not.
No?
No, but we know they're there. I'm going to use that one in my next interview. Well, people, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? No. Well, there's a lot of fucking pigeons, aren't there?
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
Well, if they, if you have full-grown pigeons, chances are there's babies out there somewhere. Yeah.
I apologize. I dropped the F-bomb there.
Oopsie.
That's just my New York sense of humor sometimes. comes out. Flasher shoes. Then there's the sneakers with the little skates in them.
Yeah. The little wheelies. Yeah.
Wheelies or whatever the hell.
Yeah, those were actually banned from my son's school when he was in elementary school. They sent him a note home to the parents, no wheelies. Okay. I wasn't going to let my kid have those anyway. Yeah, the flashing lights.
Yeah, because or the flashing lights, or both. He has the flashing light and the wheelies, and you don't want him to have it because you want to smack him, and he's just wheeling away from you. Son of a bitch.
Oh, guys.
But anyway, no, I think that, and you can see just by discussing cultural differences amongst us Homo sapiens,
right?
We can see that there's going to be cultural differences amongst the same species of primates as well.
Yeah.
Maybe means something different to that chimp than
right
to that one. I'm just saying, as silly as that sounds.
The whistles that from that video earlier, I've not heard whistling like that that I would attribute to Bigfoot. But
no, I haven't either. But is it?
I've also heard people reporting whistles.
Yes.
At night.
Yeah.
Some from coon hunters. That something was whistling. I don't know what the. And it wasn't like it was whistling a tune. It was just making a sharp, like a. Brandon and I experienced that one afternoon. We were walking and we were in an area that had a pretty good. It was a busy area. It was a very good area, and we heard a whistle, and then there was two quick whistles, and I was thinking that's kind of odd. Why would there be one whistle and then a hesitation, then two quick whistles, and then it stopped? There was nothing else.
Yep.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh-oh. Mick has the answer to the baby. Baby pigeons don't exist. North teleports adult pigeons to our planet. Of course. There's the answer. Wow. That's...
Never know.
Never know.
Raptor, that would be over in western Kentucky. I'm right about the middle. Right about the middle of Kentucky. Yeah, Muhlenberg County. That's where they... Oh, yeah, that's Peabody's coal train and Peabody's coal mine over there.
So, finding the trackway, say eastern whippoorwill, night bird, or saw-whet owl.
Yep.
Well, I know what a whippoorwill sounds like. Mm-hmm. Trust me. Everybody has a video of me in Kentucky telling one to shut the hell up. And it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think tonight was a really great discussion on the audio. I would expect no less of my group to cover all the bases. Yeah. But again, I will go back and to summarize. I don't know about the whistling. That really is weird.
Yeah.
And it did come up as human, but who the hell knows?
Yeah.
The howl, I'm understand that I really think that, I don't believe for 1 second they're hoaxed.
Right.
Like I said, I'm a pretty good judge of character and have a lot of discernment when it comes to speaking to witnesses and, just the communication, the full disclosure. Like, man, I got their address. She gave me their address.
Yeah.
She sent me an Apple map of the locations of where the cameras were. That's why I was able to put that on a Google map. I was able to match it up to the Google map without labels on it. I mean, a hoaxer won't give you their freaking address.
No.
They won't give me their names.
Yeah.
They won't answer questions. Not only did she answer questions, but she had company coming over today. But she said, "I'll have a few minutes. I'll call you." And we spent 20 minutes on the radio. We spent 20 minutes on the phone talking about what she's experiencing, her experience as a child, her trip to the Ohio Bigfoot conference, and how, she was kind of went in there with a lot of trepidation. And then she's like, wow, people really did have some very grounded data and experiences. So, and then again, her disliking of hoaxers, because that was discussed on some of my podcasts and on my Bigfoot influencers podcast. Yeah. So do I get the feeling?
There's a lot of green flags there.
Yeah. She wasn't she wasn't sitting there saying, this is a Bigfoot. No, she was there saying, I don't know what this is. What do you think? Do you think maybe? Yeah. So when somebody comes out again, what are they looking for? Some validation. They're not looking for. And like I said, I wrote back to her. I said, they're very interesting. They're very compelling to me. Yeah. You may have something. I'm not saying you do, but you may have something. Right. Keep it up. Anything else happens, drop me a line. We'll evaluate that as well. Yeah. So do I think this is a hoax or no? Because the claims aren't big. They didn't hold back anything. They emailed me the video files. They emailed me the photos, the original raw photos, because I can sit there and see right on there. It says IMG dash whatever number it is. So I know that these came right off the phone, right to me. The same thing with the videos as well. So I don't, I meant to do that earlier, but I got tied up trying to get this line going today. Does a woman have activity near her home? So with a quick question of that, let me go to,
to me, the whistles are interesting and it's intriguing. It's worth more investigation of the area. I think the coyote howl doesn't sound exactly right for a coyote. So that is interesting. And that's also worthy of more investigation. I like them. I think she's definitely got an area there worth looking into. But the whistles that's interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. You don't know. It could be a prank. Somebody could be playing a prank on them. It's possible. And that's one of the things you have to look into. Is the neighbor messing with me? But if they got like a 600-acre piece of property there, and this stuff is happening at night, more than likely somebody's not going out just to prank their web or their deer cam or.
Now I do know from looking at this that there is at least one. There's not a lot of reports in the BFRO database of sightings in Jackson County. There is one. There's a lot in the adjacent counties.
Yeah.
But there was one, and coincidentally, it was what they call a Class B, and it was a howl. So somebody heard a howl that shut everything up, including the frogs.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. So that answers that question. So, well, anyway, it is that time. We need to get off the radio or the horn here. But everybody, again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy your time with your family. And life is short. Life is precious. So please, please, please enjoy your time with your family. Spend the time with your family. And if you're not, don't spend it alone. Go to a friend's house. Take that invite.
Yeah.
Have a good time. Enjoy your life. And celebrate another year and have some turkey. And
or chicken.
Or chicken. And, you know what I'm doing, Chris? I am actually frying a turkey this year.
Oh, yeah. Those are good. John fried one of those for me one year. Oh, man.
I get a fresh turkey being brined now as we speak.
Yeah.
So I pick it up on Wednesday, and Thursday she gets dropped in the peanut oil.
Wow. Oh, man.
40 minutes, and we got a nice, crispy, delicious turkey.
Be ready for a treat, man. I mean, they're really good. And let's see, what was it? John smeared the outside of the turkey with hot sauce and then dropped him in the deep fryer. Oh, my gosh. It was so beautiful and brown, and delicious. It was juicy. Oh, my gosh. Okay, I'm getting hungry now just thinking about it.
Well, what I like is I'm brining mine, so it's going to be in that nice salt water and spice water soaking in that.
Yeah.
And then I pull it out, dry it off, rub it with some spices, stick it in the fridge till the next morning because it's not a frozen turkey. And then put the device in it and drop it down. And then, of course, we're going to have my homemade mac and cheese, my Brussels sprouts, of course, candied yams and some butternut squash and some mashed potatoes and stuffing, and all topped off with some delicious ricotta pies and pumpkin pie.
Oh, man. I may go ahead and spring for a turkey. I don't know. It just seems like, once a year is plenty, for a turkey.
That's why I'm getting a fresh turkey.
Yeah, we're not going to drop any frozen turkeys in the deep fryer. Yeah. That's a good message there, Steve, too. Yeah, make sure your turkey is completely thawed before putting it in the deep fryer.
Well, that's why this turkey has never been frozen. So, right from farm to the brine to my table.
This is going to be awesome. Yeah,
and I'll have some pictures next week. Yeah, and I'll probably be about 10 pounds heavier. So, and you know what I ate for the first time since my surgery today? What? I had tacos.
Okay, crunchy. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Good.
Believe it or not, I actually eat crunchier stuff better than I do chewier stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll get used to it.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, all right, folks, on behalf of everybody here on Squatch-D, Chris, do your thing.
Well, we want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. We appreciate you. Appreciate everybody in chat. You guys make the show. It's always an honor to have you in here. If it's the first time watching the show on YouTube, give us a subscribe. Punch that like button. Everybody hit that like button.
Yeah, on the way out, please hit the like button.
It really helps us get found in the algorithm. Because sure does. Without that, we get lost in YouTube and nobody will ever know we're ever here.
If you got nothing to do tomorrow or whatever, we'll leave a comment. We'll approve it.
Yeah.
Get it up there. And there's a reason why I approve the comments, because we have trolls that sometimes come in and say things. Especially
don't worry. Your comment will be up there.
Yep.
And, even if you say Chris sounds like a hillbilly, it's okay.
You're damn straight that's going up there.
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time.
All right, folks. And on behalf of everybody here at Squatch-D TV, everybody have a wonderful week. Stay healthy. Keep happy. And, of course, happy Thanksgiving. And, of course, what is it, Chris?
Keep on squatching.
Catch y'all next week. 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday nights, SquatchDTV.com.
Hey, folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Kulls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless. And keep on squatching.